tutorial starts with a song, but it's only a few seconds long.
Computer animation. Computer animation. Computer animation.
Let's get started with animation. Hello folks, this tutorial is about a single command. It's about the command to convert nParticles into polygons. Why would you want to do this? Well, for example, to create such nice structures here, which are animated and behaving like particles. Particles actually are not geometry, and turning them into polygons is quite a satisfying effect, but it's very dissatisfying to use it straight away because you need to know a little bit about the whole procedure. So many people just skip this because the convert nParticle to polygon command seems to not work. Well, it does. It needs a little bit of modification. So in this new scene we create a particle system. We're under FX, special effects. If you're not here, go here, FX. And here we have the n-world, nParticles, nCloth, nHair, nConstraint, etc. We create a particle and no geometry, just create an emitter which emits particles which fall down. We'll make them a little bit more interesting. The nucleus contains the dynamics of this whole system, and when you select the nucleus, you find the gravity here. It's set to 9.8. That's the reason why the particles fall down. We don't want them to fall down, so we reduce the gravity to 0. And now they just spread in all directions. Now I increase the frame range to 500, so I see the simulation a little bit longer. And this is not necessary for this tutorial, but I turn the particles into little blobs. So go back to particles here in the outliner, and then I find under, this is a little bit hidden, under shading I find points, and I turn the points into spheres. It's a little bit more attractive to look at, and if they're too large for you, too big, go to particle size and reduce the radius. You cannot use this command when you're dealing with points, but with spheres it's alright. So now the animation goes like this. And before we go to the command to turn these particles into actually polygons, we'll make the motion even more interesting by selecting the particles, going to fields and solvers, and we create a vortex field, which, well, behaves like a vortex field. So you see how they rotate, and I raise the vortex magnitude quite a bit. When I go to the very beginning, I see a nice rotation here. So that's basically all I want now. Now I have the particles selected and I convert them to polygons, and this is the key command in this tutorial. You need to go to modify because you're doing a modification now. You modify the particles. Modify, and then down here you have the convert menu set, NURBS to polygons, etc. All the way down is nParticle to polygons. Just brief meditation. You need to be under modify, convert, and nParticle to polygons, and you need to have the particle system, not the emitter, selected. This is disappointing. And when we run the simulation from the very beginning, we see nothing. In some cases you might see something, but usually you don't see anything. This is depressing, isn't it? We go back to the particles. Close all these things about particle size and shading, and what we'll do now is go to the output mesh section. Meditation again. We're in the nParticle shape node here, and we open the output mesh. And here is the key thing which you need to consider, the threshold. Let's reduce the threshold from 0.1 to 0.01. all of a sudden you see something. And before we continue, select it here, we give it a new material because we want a sexy scene here. Standard shader, and just give it a nice color like this light blue. Now when we run the simulation, we see geometry. Doesn't have to do anything with the vortex field though. And it disappears because we need to take care of the threshold. This is really not self-explanatory. Threshold, let's reduce it to 0.05. Go to the very beginning, and now we can scale this up and down. And now you see the rotation starting to impact our polygons. They are polygons now. You can change the triangle mesh to what I actually like to do, into quad mesh. Looks a little bit more like an explosion. So, just to recap, when you convert your particles, you have converted the nParticles to polygon surface, go to the nParticle node and open the output mesh section. Here is what you need to do in order to see a simulation which is similar to the original particle simulation. Well, finally, let me go a little bit further here. What is a mesh good for? That was the question at the very beginning. Why would we want to use this? Well, many purposes, as you can see, but one purpose is a little bit crazy, and you can go to mesh and create a mesh network from it. And then you have this complex object here. Go to the mesh distribute node and change the distribution here to, for example, a spherical one. Now you have them all in a spherical arrangement. Do they animate? Of course they do. Isn't that funny? Have a nice day. Bye-bye.